This is my first video on the circulatory system, and this video is on blood types. In this video, I want to discuss what are antigens and antibodies, what is a blood transfusion, and what are blood types. Before we start going into these three questions, I want to shortly repeat what we have learned about the different parts of blood, and I only want to discuss the parts that are relevant for today's video. Now, the first part of blood that I would like to discuss is the plasma. Remember that the plasma contains water, nutrients, hormones, waste products, CO2, and a little bit of oxygen. White blood cells are also found in your blood, and they are found everywhere in your body, and they usually fight bacteria and viruses. So they are part of your immune system. And you have two types of white blood cells, the phagocytes that eat everything that is harmful, and the lymphocytes, which produce antibodies. And I want you to remember for now that the antibodies usually fight bacteria and viruses, and that they are produced by lymphocytes. The last part of blood that is relevant for today's video is the red blood cells, because the red blood cells and the differences between red blood cells they make up the differences between the different blood types. Two very important terms when we learn about blood types are antigens and antibodies. And first, I want to shortly repeat what antibodies are. As I've already said, antibodies are produced by lymphocytes, and they usually fight bacteria or viruses. But antibodies are also related to blood types. Because antibodies can stick to antigens to inactivate them. A new thing is that antibodies are found in the blood plasma. So the white blood cells produce the antibodies, and then the antibodies are found in the blood plasma. Now, antigens are proteins on the surface of cells. So they can be found on the cell membrane of cells, and they are very important for recognition. Because the antigens of cells are the kind of recognition molecules that your body uses to identify whether a cell is from your own body, or whether it is a virus, or whether it is a bacteria. So antigens are used to identify whether something belongs to your own body or whether it doesn't. And these antibodies, they can stick to antigens, so they can kind of recognize these antigens. And then when they do, they can bind to them. And what happens is shown in this overview. Over here, you see a red blood cell on the left that has antigens on its cell surface, on its cell membrane. And here you see an example of an antibody. Now here you can see what happens if an antibody and an antigen match. That the antibody will bind to the antigen, and then you will get an immune response. So the body will treat the red blood cells as if it were a virus or a bacterium. Now, before we can go into the different blood types, you first need to know about what a blood transfusion is. And a blood transfusion or a blood donation is when blood is transferred from one person to a patient. So from someone who is healthy to a patient who has lost a lot of blood during an operation or during an accident or an incident. And blood transfusions can happen in two ways. You can either donate the plasma, and remember that the plasma included nutrients, molecules, sometimes a little bit of oxygen, but also antibodies, or you can donate red blood cells. Now, when we look at different blood types, we need to look at the red blood cells, because the antigens on the red blood cells identify what the blood type is. And maybe you've already learned that people can have blood type A, blood type B, blood type AB, or blood type O. And the blood type that someone has is based on the antigens that can be found on their red blood cells. So someone with blood type A has A antigens on their red blood cells. Someone with blood type B has B antigens on their red blood cells. Someone with blood type AB has both types of antigens on their red blood cells. And someone with blood type O has none of the antigens on their red blood cells. Their blood cells are empty, let's say. That is a simplification, but that is enough to know for now. When someone has a certain blood type, they might also have a certain antibody in their plasma. And remember that when an antibody and an antigen match, it will clot and treat the red blood cell as if it were an invader, as if it were a bacterium or a virus. So someone with blood type A cannot have antibody A in their body because otherwise the antibodies will attack the red blood cells. So someone who has antigen A on their red blood cells has antibodies in their plasma against antigen B. And for blood type B, it is the other way around. Someone with blood type B who has antigen B on their red blood cell has antibodies against antigen A in their blood plasma. Now, there's no clear reason why this is so. You just have to kind of know and accept that this is the case. Now, for blood type AB, people who have blood type AB, so who have both antigen A and antigen B on their red blood cell, they do not have any antibodies in their plasma against blood type antigens. So they don't have antibodies against blood type A antigens or against blood type B antigens. Now, the blood type O, which doesn't have any antigens, remember that the red blood cells were empty, they have antibodies against antigen A and against antigen B. Now, to completely understand, I recommend you to copy this table, and I want you to predict to which blood types someone with blood type A can donate blood and from which blood types someone with blood type A can receive blood. And then I want you to also predict those options for the other blood types. So you can pause the video in a second, try to complete the table, and there's one small thing that I want to say about this. When you're going to fill in the table, I want you to assume that we only donate the red blood cells and that we do not donate the plasma, because that is usually what happens in a blood transfusion. When you're done filling in the table, you can continue the video and check if you have the right answer. Okay, so you have completed the rest of the table, or you've tried to predict the different options. And one thing that you probably did correct is that someone with blood type A can donate blood to blood type A, and someone with blood type B can donate blood to someone with blood type B. And someone with blood type AB can donate blood to someone with blood type AB, and someone with blood type O can donate blood to someone with blood type O, because you can always donate to the same blood type as you have yourself. The reason why someone with blood type A cannot donate their red blood cells to someone with blood type B is because someone with blood type B has antibodies against the antigens on the red blood cell from someone with blood type A. So if you would donate blood from someone with blood type A to someone with blood type B, the antibodies would attack the red blood cells, and that would lead to a problem. Now, for the same reason, since someone with blood type O doesn't have any antigens on their red blood cells, they can donate to all the different blood types, because it doesn't matter what antibodies someone has in their blood, there is nothing to attack on a red blood cell from someone with blood type O. Now, on the other hand, someone with blood type AB has both type of antigens. So it doesn't matter what type of antibody you have, you will always attack the red blood cells from someone with blood type AB. So someone with blood type AB can only donate blood to someone with blood type AB. Now, since blood type O can donate blood to all blood types, anyone with any blood type can also receive blood from blood type O. So someone who is blood type A can receive blood from blood type A, clearly, because it's the same blood type, but they can also receive blood from blood type O, because someone with blood type O doesn't have any antigens on their red blood cells. And someone with blood type B can receive red blood cells from someone with blood type B, and can receive red blood cells from someone with blood type O. Now, something interesting happens when we look at the blood types AB and O, because someone with blood type AB can receive all blood types. And that is because they don't have any antibodies. So it doesn't matter whether they get a red blood cell that only has antigens A or whether they get a red blood cell that has both types of antigens. They have nothing to attack the antigens on the red blood cells, so they can receive all the blood types. So for someone with blood type O, it is a total opposite. They have both antibodies against antigen A and antibodies against antigen B. So whichever red blood cell you will donate to someone with blood type O, they always have an antibody to attack the red blood cell. So someone with blood type O can only receive blood from someone else who also has blood type O. Okay, I understand that that was a bit much to process all at once, so let's summarize the most important things. When an antigen and antibody match and bind, this leads to blood clotting. Basically, what is happening is that the antibodies are attacking red blood cells as if it were a bacterium or virus. Secondly, we've learned that the different blood types have different antigens on their red blood cells and different antibodies in their blood plasma. And during a blood transfusion, it is very important to pay attention to the blood types and the antibodies present in that blood type to prevent that the blood will clot when red blood cells or when plasma is donated from a donor to a patient. Okay, that was the video. I hope it was helpful. Please give me any feedback and ask me any questions that you still have. I would highly appreciate it if you would let me know what you think so that I can improve myself and make the videos clearer or easier to understand. I hope you have learned a lot from the video, and good luck with studying the different blood types.